Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to this patch video for Thief Lord from the website Royal Road. This patch video will contain chapters 45 and 46, and as always I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider subscribing. Chapter 45, Wasted Initiative. The battle from here on out woes smoothly. The first elite thug who got put on fire was first to die after the combined effort of the trap wreaked havoc on his body. His knife ended shortly after when my two prowlers managed to snipe the last few % of health from his bar. The remaining thug and cutthroat were soon to follow, standing no chance against the sheer numbers of my underlings piling upon them. The enemy prowler lasted the longest, having angered Cobra at his heels. The prowler could do nothing but feebly run in circles, unable to stop and reload his crossbow, until Cobra managed to catch up to him. His knife ended shortly after in a brutal wrestling match. I am a little amazed at how smoothly this battle went. The battle was far more controlled, with far fewer enemies and no reinforcements. But the enemies were still powerful and should have been able to at least make a dent in my own lines. To mercilessly slaughter them like this, not bad at all. I've got to hand it to the trap though, that thing worked like a charm. It completely took one of the thugs out of the fight, immediately lowering their combat potential, as well as interrupting their damage dealers. I already have tons of other ideas I want to try. Who says the trap only needs to deal damage? What if I combine some sort of basic hallucinogenic substance together with an enragement potion? Oh, the devastation it would cause if a group of people stumble upon the trap. I can really see the appeal of a potential of reusing the trap during fights later, and I imagine my future battle plans revolving completely around those traps. Nevertheless, the real star of the show is Cobra. While his core attributes were basically the same as any other elite mob, he still managed to outsmart the enemy elite units by sheer intelligence alone. I'm not completely sure how, but I imagine it's because he's seeded with a higher grade artificial intelligence unit, which not only has given him the ability to converse, but also the mental capacity to perform more efficient during combat. I gotta say, I really have high hopes for his future. Stroking my gigantic mind balls aside, I think they're onto something here. I didn't go into this fight fighting fairly. I used the environment to my advantage, and I didn't give the enemy any chance at fighting back. I can work with this, and I have several good ideas that spring to mind. First of all, I have to secure the spoils. Elite enemies usually drop more than a better grade items than regular mobs, and I'm certain that these enemies won't disappoint. My underlings already know the drill, and at all an enemy's pockets have already been pilfered. Grinning, I wait for my underlings to bring the goods back to me. Heavy leather armor set, common, plus 30% physical resistance, per level gains, 1.5 strength, 1.5 endurance, 1 agility, 0.5 dexterity, requires NPC fighter classification. Light leather armor, common, plus 20% physical resistance, per level gain, 1.5 dexterity, 1 agility, 1 perception, 0.5 constitution, 0.5 strength, requires NPC range classification. Shadowed leather armor set, common, 25% physical resistance, per level gain, 1.5 agility, 1 perception, 1 dexterity, 0.5 constitution, 0.5 strength, requires NPC rogue classification. Dark iron stiletto, uncommon, 20 to 22 piercing damage, plus 5 agility, requires level 8. Dark iron shortsword, uncommon, 22 to 24 slashing damage, plus 3 strength, plus 2 agility, requires level 8. 8 gold, 2 silver, 7 copper. Whoa, I stand gaping. I knew I would get better gear when killing elite mobs, but I wasn't prepared for this. 3 different types of armor and 2 uncommon grade weapons. That's insane. It's way above 50% drop rate. Granted, I haven't killed many elite monsters during my time, but this takes the cake as well as the frosting. Is this a common occurrence, or am I simply this lucky? It's definitely a common occurrence. We all know that it's not that I'm lucky. But hey, I'll take it. God knows I need it. I just wish that the quest was repeatable, as I sincerely doubt I'll come across another treasure trove all this any time soon. Do you know what? The hell with the Plaguebringer. I am completely dedicated to completing this quest, no matter how long it takes. The loot is just too good, and I can't afford to have abort this mission due to making a mistake. My underlings and I retreat back into the storage room and rest to restore our health pools. We didn't make much damage during the fight, so luckily we don't have to wait long. I also have only a few minutes left of the cooldown to fight dirty, so I might as well wait for that one as well. I don't see a reason not to be patient here, except, the impeding plague that is about to descend upon the city. But that's a problem for future Ryan to solve. God, that guy must really hate me at this point. Well, we sit around and wait. I'll try to plan the next step. The big dining and living hall beyond is quite large, and there isn't quite a lot of natural cover to take advantage of, apart from the door that we're hiding behind. 3 different doors were leading out of the room spread evenly around, forming a natural cross pattern. I can only guess which door leads where, but the most obvious option would be that the furthest door leads to the boss. Should I have saved that for last? Maybe head through both of the side doors first to clear up any potential lurkers beyond? The options are many, but I should definitely play it safe. I first haven't forgotten my mistake up above, and my first order of business should be to cover my bases. The first order I give to my underlings are all done and rested, to have them grab a crate each and start stacking them in front of the leftmost door. This is to make sure that known reinforcements can come through and ambush me when they head through a different door. After blocking off the leftmost door, I have my underlings start stacking crates in front of the rightmost door. I will probably try to scout through one of these doors later, but I'd rather have no enemies appear behind me while my traps are blocking off the furthermost door. As my underlings finish blocking off the rightmost door, I take a better look around the room. This really looks like a very professional made secret lair. I wonder if I can make it something similar of my own. That definitely would be pretty awesome. I still haven't forgotten about the one Thief Lord basic class abilities that allows me to establish a hideout. I definitely have to look into it at some point. My little army is growing and my loot is starting to pile up. Getting this sort of safe zone set up would be optimal. My musings are interrupted as my underlings head back to the storage room to pick up a 3rd stack of crates to block off the farmost door in the room. Looking closer, I notice that the door differs from the other 2 doors. Whereas the rest of the doors in the room are all sturdy wooden doors with metal handles and hinges, the further door on this frame reinforced with steel. Whatever is behind it, it is either something powerful or something valuable, preferably the latter. I should probably start setting up another GOD trap above it before anything really bad. Just as my underlings get around 15 meters away from the door, it starts opening with a loud metal screech. Oh crap. Retreat to the center of the room, I shout. My underlings immediately comply and drop their crates. Crap, did we trigger some kind of event? Did we wait too long? Well, what do we have here? A raspy voice says boorishly as a figure steps through the door at the far end. I heard a commotion earlier, and I figured that it was my men getting a little rowdy. I didn't know we had ourselves a little rat infestation problem, though. The man sneers. Syndicate leader, Alzar Farkmel, 13, HP, unknown, out of unknown. A tall and lanky dark elf emerges from the door. He's wearing a full set of darkened leather armor with layers of chainmail stitched in to cover the vital parts on his torso. He is also wearing a thin leather on his steel helmet with what appears to be steel wings extending outwards, covering his ears. A steel rapier rests at his side, and I can spot the reflection of blood-red gem encrusted into the hilt. Whatever he's wearing, the gear seems to outclass anything my own troops can muster. I'm so focused on Alzar that I fail to notice the 2 enemies that appear behind him before they step in front of him, blocking my view. Human Elite Thug, 11, HP unknown, out of unknown. High Elf Elite Thug, 11, HP unknown, out of unknown. Oh, buggers. This can't be good. I look around to find Cobra standing right next to me, carefully eyeing the 3 powerful enemies ahead of us. ordered the men to apply poisons to the weapon. I want you to have the cutthroats use paralyzing poison each. Go all out, I whisper to my lieutenant, who nods in return. I'm not without reason, however, Alzar says while casually lifting his hand to point at his face, examining his fingernails with a bored expression. If you and your little vermin surrender quietly, I may be persuaded to. Cheap shot, I shout, and my two prowlers immediately fire at the human elite thug to the left. Their skill-enhanced bolts fly true, striking the surprised thug at the chest. With a look of rage, Alzar glares at me. You dare! Take out the wounded enemy first. Cobra, keep the talkative scunt busy. I shout my orders, completely ignoring the enraged boss. If that stupid bastard wants to waste his initiative by gloating, then so be it. I'll take the freebie when I can get it. I immediately start channeling calm, targeting the high elf elite. With a roar, Cobra charges forward towards Alzar, furious that the boss reacts by drawing his rapier, leveling towards my charging lieutenant. I'll teach you insolent little whelps how a true son of noble Falkmel family fights. Shadow pierce. In the blink of an eye, Alzar's body jolts forward, covering the 10-meter gap in less than a second. Cobra coughs up a mouthful of blood before he even realizes Alzar's rapier has pierced his chest. My heart skips a beat as I notice that the singular attack took nearly 30% of Cobra's health. Crap! Clutching his chest in pain, Cobra drops to his knees and his short sword dropping harmlessly onto the cobblestone floor. Alzar yanks his rapier out, and a small spray of blood trailing from his sword as he swings it back for another strike. Stop him! I shout, my body moving on instinct. I rush towards my fallen lieutenant as I fish out for a health potion. My dwarven thug throws herself at Alzar before he can finish the swing, forcing the nimble boss to jump back a step. The dwarf takes up the defensive stance in front of Cobra, who's trying to awkwardly get back to his feet. I reach Cobra, and I immediately force the health potion into his mouth. He struggles for a moment, too enraged at the enemy to even notice that I'm trying to help. He chugs the potion down, and I'm relieved to see that the health bar starting to rise. You won't get away with that again, Cobra mutters through clenched teeth. Trying to capitalize on his immobility, Alzar dashes forward, swinging his rapier at my dwarven thug's throat. She barely manages to parry with a swift rapier, immediately trying to counter with a lunge of her own. Alzar effortlessly sidesteps, bringing his blade around to strike again of my overextended thug. A pair of crossbow bolts race through the air, and Alzar immediately dodges backwards. He's too late, however. The one of the bolts strikes his left arm. He sneers, casting a quick glance at his bloodied arm. How dare you? He shouts while jumping back a few steps. Looking around, his serious expression forms on his face. I get a bad feeling about this before I can order my underlings to re-engage the boss. He sucks in a whole lot of air before he unleashes what can only be a skill. In the name of your lord, assist your master, he shouts loudly, his voice bouncing off the stone walls. Faint roars echo at his shout, and I swivel around to find out where the crumb is coming from. What the? Are those reinforcements? The roars quickly grow closer, the stone tunnel making it nearly impossible to narrow down the direction the sound is coming from. The shouts are growing louder, rising in volume in tandem with my own panic. Should I call for a retreat? I don't think that we can handle any reinforcements right now. I'm a split second away from calling off the fight when something forcibly impacts both side doors of the hall simultaneously, followed by a loud cursing. Soon after, someone starts hammering at the two doors, trying to force their way through. I thank the gods that it is watching that I had foresight to block those doors. But my happiness is short-lived as I notice several cracks starting to appear on the shut doors. I need to finish this quickly. I glance around the room and backpedaling away from the boss, trying to regain control over the system. One of the enemy thugs is nearly dead, but the other one is currently making life miserable for one of my half-orc twins. Not good. I need to accelerate the fight, and fast. Fight dirty. I shout as my underlings' weapons start to glow. Take down the weakest as quickly as possible. Hurrah! My underlings shout as one, throwing themselves into the fight with a renewed vigor. I start preparing to cast my calm spell when I catch a glimpse of Alzar from the corner of my eye. The boss dances around and swings with Cobra and the dwarven thug as if in slow motion, stabbing down towards my underlings at every opportune moment. He's about to deliver a rather vicious slash at my dwarf when another set of crossbow bolts cross the room, one of them embedding in his left shoulder, while the other nicks the side of his thigh. "Insolent pests," he snarls, directing his eyes at my two prowlers, and me at a distance. "Shadow pierce," he shouts, and his body with once more jolts forward, and we have no time to react before he's upon us, his rapier effortlessly piercing my halfling prowler's throat. My prowler emits a weak choking noise, and his body goes limp, his much lower health pool not enough to survive a powerful thrust. Your underling halfling prowler 10 has been slain by syndicate leader, Alzar Falkmal 13. Wide eyes, I stumble backwards. Oh crap, this is bad. End of chapter. Chapter 46. Honor amongst thieves. I gulp in fear as I watch the prowler slump together on the ground, lifeless eyes glazing over. Crap, this is bad. What the hell is up with that skill? It's way too powerful. How the hell am I supposed to fight that? If he targets me with it, I'm dead. I take a careful step backwards, trying to create some distance between us. Alzar forcefully yanks his rapier back, locking his rage-filled eyes upon me. "Cut off your head, or the snake and the body will wither," he says coldly with clenched teeth as he takes a step towards me. Crap! I grab a hold of my loot and I swing it towards him. He takes a casual back step, dodging the wooden makeshift club with ease. Panicked, I jump another 3 steps backward, lifting my loot to use it as an impromptu shield with one hand while the other is blindly rummaging through my inventory. My hand finds a random vial, and I quickly throw it towards the approaching boss. Alzar deflects the vial with his rapier, shattering the glass so that the liquid scatters everywhere. A few drops land on his body, and I can see his wounds start to knit themselves together. "A health potion," Alzar chuckles as he eyes the red liquid that is dripping from his arm. "Is this your way of apologizing? Then I'm afraid you're far too late," he smirks. Before he can even advance any further, another vial flies towards his face. "Enough of this," he shouts, forcibly shattering the vial with his rapier. The white substance within sticks to the sword and his torso, causing the dark elf to grimace in disgust. "What is this?" He sneers as he tries to brush the substance off with his arm and only causes it to further grab a hold of his limbs. I'm a little surprised myself, and it takes me a few seconds to realize I just threw a bottle of glue at him. I have to say, I didn't expect it to be this efficient. "Come back here, you little twat!" Cobra roars as he rejoins the fight, charging towards Alzar. Spotting him, Alzar tries to spin to the side, but some of the glue landed on his legs, slowing him down. Alzar's eyes widen in fear as he is unable to escape my charging lieutenant, and Cobra soon tackles the pair to the ground. I quickly react in the situation, wasting no time in creating some distance between us. As the two start a deadly wrestle match on the ground, I quickly locate the second enemy elite thug. He is currently pressing a regular thugs, forcing one of my half-orc twins in a desperate defense. I try to intervene to start to channel another calm spell. The spell is ludicrously inefficient against elite mobs, only able to slow them down for maybe a second or two. Amidst the combat, though, those seconds can be difference between life and death for my underlings, or me. Just as my spell takes effect, the long-awaited notification appears. You have slain human elite thug 11. Gain 65 experience. "Quick, bring the second one down," I shout, switching my attention back towards the struggling pair on the ground around me. The dwarven thug joins the fray, cutting her sword deeply into Alzar's back. Fighting close range is apparently not Alzar's forte, and as his health bar just dropping like a rock. His rapier is light sword meant to perform quick piercing attacks against an enemy, which means the weapon is essentially useless when fighting an enemy in less than an arm length away. For a second, hope swells in my chest until the gamey reality comes crashing down around me. Just when that his health bar is nearing the 60% mark, the boss screams in outrage. "Enough!" he bellows, his voice carrying around the stone hall. What happens next is almost unbelievable. Alzar's body starts to glow ominously red, and his muscles are contorting and twisting in an unnatural direction, growing larger by the second. What the hell? Is he mutating? The whole process only takes a couple of seconds, and the result is terrifying. Alzar seems to have grown a head taller, and his muscles must have at least doubled in density. A thick vein is pulsing on his neck, and his eyes glint with a savage ferocity. With a brute show of force, he manages to lift Cobra off of him, throwing the lieutenant across the room. Cobra impacts on one of the stone pillars near the center of the room, and his health bar is dipping uncomfortably low. Oh frick, he's enraging. Everyone pin him down. Fight smart, I shout, activating my last skill and scampering backwards and out of harm's way. My underlings all react immediately, abandoning the fight with the second thug to run over to surround the boss. Enrage is a common feature amongst boss fights, where at certain stages of the fight, the boss gets short power boost for a limited amount of time. During the enragement phase, the only thing we can do is to go on the defensive and try to buy ourselves as much time as possible. Hopefully, my underlings can manage to keep him occupied long enough for me to get Cobra back into the fight. I can only pray that fight smart skill is enough to save their lives. Alzar appears to have increased his speed even further, racing around the room and putting a hurt on my underlings. By the time I've reached Cobra's prone body, Alzar claims the second victim of the night. Your underling half-orc thug 10 has been slain by syndicate leader Alzar Falkmal 13. Gritting my teeth, I can only keep running towards Cobra while simultaneously fishing out one of my few remaining health potions. Reaching Cobra, I force the health potion down his throat while cursing softly. Crap! I can't believe I ended up being a combat medic. I'm freaking useless. Cobra coughs twice as the potion starts to take effect, and I watch in joy as I watch his health bar rise. Blinking, Cobra looks towards me in confused expression. Before I can order him to get back into the fight, his eyes widen in fear and he pushes me to the side. Rolling over, I can hear the sound of metal striking stone from somewhere around the area I was just sitting. Coming to a stop, I catch a glimpse of the remaining elite thug as he withdraws his blade for another strike. Not on my watch, jerk! Cobra shouts as he kicks his feet from underneath him, bringing the high elf thug to the ground. Cobra rolls on top of him, pinning the high elf between his legs and sitting on the top of the thug. Cobra cuts his sword deep into the throat of the high elf's prone form. The blade cuts deep and Cobra starts sawing his sword back and forth. You worthless piece of crap! Cobra curses through gritted teeth as he keeps ruthlessly sawing at the thug's throat. The thug's arms flailing helplessly around, futilely trying to stop the blade from sawing deeper into his flesh. With a final, brutal cut, a spray of blood marks the final moment of the dying elf. Panting, Cobra shakily gets back to his feet. Glaring, he switches his gaze over towards Alzar, who is wreaking havoc on the rest of my underlings. The dwarven thug seems to have fallen, and the rest are hanging on by a thin thread. This ends now. With a roar, Cobra charges towards the rampaging boss. Almost as on cue, the boss's enragement phase seems to end, and the soft red glow recedes, and his body returns to normal. The transformation seems to have done a number on his body, as Alzar is gasping for breath, and his body is soaked in sweat. He stumbles, and that's all the opportunity my underlings need, as they lunge as one. Blades pierce his body from several angles, and his health bar drops fast. Cobra soon joins the fight as he violently tackles the boss to the ground, bringing both cutthroats with him in an overwhelming display of power. My remaining half-orc thug is quick to react, and he wastes no time piling onto the ball of death on the ground. I release a deep breath of relief when we seem to have regained the control of the fight. I throw a quick glance at both side doors, happy to notice they still shouting enemy reinforcements have not yet managed to break through the barricades. Are we winning? I sure as hell hope so. I just hope that the boss doesn't have any more enragement phases in him. From my mouth to whatever game entity the masquerades as a god is, as soon as Alzar's health pops to over single digits, the dark elf roars in anger. I will not succumb. With another, more violent show of force, my underlings are thrown off Alzar's prone form. Enraged, Alzar jumps to his feet, his eyes locking onto me. Crap. With all my underlings still struggling to get back to their feet, there's little standing between me and the very angry noble. He starts walking towards me, his body growing red. With my mind racing, I try to come up with a way out. With a quick glance at my mana bar, I notice I have enough mana for another spell. I quickly raise my hands, gathering the all-too-familiar translucent mist around me, and launch it towards Alzar. This spell impacts him straight in the face, and my heart almost leaps for joy until I see the still scowling face staring daggers at me. Oh, crap. I turn around and try to run. I make it all but 2 feet when the scariest words I ever heard is uttered behind me. Shadow Pierce. I let my body drop low into a roll, my sheer desperation hoping it's enough to save me from the steady skill. Pain runs up my arm as he slams it into the ground, pulling my body with it. My body completely rolls in a very ungraceful manner. But I'm alive. How? I should be dead. Throwing my head backwards, my eyes widen in terror as I see Alzar's rapier embedded deeply into the chest of my lost prowler, his limp body already falling to the ground. Did the prowler just sacrifice himself for me? Filth! The Alzar spits, kicking off the corpse of the prowler out of the way. You frecker! I shout, feeling a rage build within me. I want this guy dead, and I want it to hurt. I can see my underlings rushing towards him, but they are still too far away. If I don't do anything, I'll die. There's only one thing left to do. I'll frickin' kill you myself, I sneer, taking the threatening step towards the syndicate leader. Oh, will the little halfling finally dirty his own hands? The dark elf smirks, raising his rapier threateningly. Ludicrous, your little rats can't help you now, you know. What a bet, I shout, throwing myself towards him. A flicker of surprise crosses his eyes, but not for long. With a snort, Alzar raises his rapier to meet my assault. He stabs forward with his rapier, aiming for my heart. Finally, it's my turn to smirk. Doppelganger. The word goes dark for a split second as my body is teleported 2.5 meters to my side, which happens to be the exact place Cobra just occupied the moment before. The sound of the rapier piercing flesh reaches my ears, and I turn around just in time to watch Cobra being impaled through the stomach. Wincing in pain, Cobra immediately reaches down and grabs a hold of Alzar's extended hand. Fancy meeting you here. He grins before slamming his fist into the gaping boss's jaw. Alzar's head is flung from the side as he loses his grip on his rapier. With a sickening crunch, his body impacts the ground hard. Before he has time to reorient himself, my cutthroat is upon him, piercing the back with daggers. He cries in pain, and I smile as I see the health bar disappearing before my eyes. Before it can fully disappear, though, I order my underlings to stop. Walking over, I glare at Alzar's damaged body, and he is pinned to the ground with all the remaining underlings. The former dark elf noble is wheezing in pain, and he directs his bloodied eyes in my direction. With a pained grunt, he coughs out a mouthful of blood. Looks like the little rat king decided to run after all. Meeting his eyes, I glare at him with contempt. Without a word, I grab my lute and I slam it mercilessly into his head. A sickening crunch and an A-flat, and all I hear is my lute caves in his skull. Releasing a tired sigh, I let the lute fall out of my exhausted hands. You have slain Syndicate Leader, Alzar Farkmal 13. Gain 520 experience. Fight Smart has leveled up to Novice 2. Doppelganger has leveled up to Novice 8. You talk too much. I turn around and start to walk away. The fight was really intense, and I could really use a break. My eyes wander around the now almost empty hall, and I take in the results of the battle. There are bodies littered everywhere, and it pains me to see that several of them belong to my own underlings. This battle was costly, and I only pulled through by the skin of my teeth. I have no idea how I could have been able to beat this quest without the gear advantage that I have, and I found it a bit hard to believe that many other thief lords would survive that encounter. Perhaps I should have gone for the combat build myself. Maybe the game developers expected me to. It might have made things easier, especially in these earlier levels. I sigh. My game style might be unorthodox, but on paper, it is viable. I know I will grow in power as I keep leveling, and my true power will only prosper when I finalize my skill development path. In the meantime, though, I probably need to get used to the struggling and losing underlings. I hate to see them die, but I know it'll pay off in the end. My eyes stop upon a prowler who sacrificed his life to save me at the end, and a short pain of guilt shoots through my chest as I recall the final act. Crap! This game feels so real sometimes. It's hard not to get attached to my underlings. We have been through a lot, and I know that I am ultimately responsible for anything that happens to them. A small part of me is actually glad our underlings can't talk, or I'm afraid that I would have a tear out my soul every time I had to see them die. They are good underlings, loyal to the bitter end. It appears that there is honor amongst thieves after all. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this batch video. If you enjoy the story, please don't forget to go and show the author some support. And if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below. The easiest way to support this channel would be to subscribe and share as much as possible to help this channel grow. And I'll see you all in the next video, and until then I hope you all keep well and safe. Cheers.